Hello everybody, and welcome back to Zero Review Stuff. My name is Zero, and in today's review, I'm going to be talking about the fourth studio album Wonder by the Canadian singer-songwriter Shawn Mendes, which was released in December of 2020. Wonder is a very quick and anticipated follow-up to Shawn's 2018 self-titled record, which still stands as his most positively acclaimed album to date, and it's honestly not very hard to see why. I didn't listen to the entire album, but the songs I have heard from it were very well written and produced, so I was very interested to see what Shawn could bring to the table with Wonder. Wonder is actually the very first Shawn Mendes album I've ever listened to as a whole, and yes, it was mainly for the purpose of a review. I saw that this album got a very mixed reception from both critics and audiences alike, so I wanted to listen to it and formulate my own opinion on it for the sake of a fair and unbiased review, as obviously I try to do with all of my reviews, of course. And like I said, I went into this album with pretty high expectations, as I enjoyed the songs I heard off of his self-titled record, like In My Blood and Youth featuring Khalid, one of my favorite singers, and even some songs off of his second studio album Illuminate, like Mercy and Treat You Better, were ones I was a really huge fan of, so I was definitely able to see that Shawn Mendes has a lot of talent, and he definitely does. Unfortunately though, Wonder is an album that shines brightly in the production. I might even consider it as his most well-produced album to date, so good for him with the production, but it also falls incredibly flat due to the overuse of cheesy, cliche, and sometimes even downright creepily cringy lyrics that are sadly present on a great number of these songs. This is super disappointing to me because Shawn has made it incredibly clear that he can indeed write amazing songs, and there definitely are some amazingly written songs on this album, which I'll get into in a minute, but the amazingly written songs are unfortunately pretty sparse on this album. However, I do mean it when I say that this is by far Shawn's most beautifully produced album to date, and sometimes I can even look past the substantial amount of badly written lyrics due to how beautiful the production is on most of these songs. A lot of the instrumentals on these songs give me extreme The Fault in Our Stars vibes, as they have that dreamy, ambient night sky feel that makes you feel like you're lying on the grass while looking up brightly at the shining stars, wishing your lover was next to you and wondering if they could see the stars that you see. One song I really have to talk about that has the exact same feel while also beautifully displaying it with the introspective and balladic lyrics is Call My Friends, which is by far my favorite track on this entire album, and is a song that has made me feel ways that I haven't felt in a very long time, even while listening to my favorite artists that I've loved for years. Call My Friends is essentially what you'd get when you mix the lyrical abilities of 5 Seconds of Ed Sheeran and the production abilities of the production team behind 5 Seconds of Summer's music, and it's a type of sound that I didn't know I would love so much. The lyrics have that Ed Sheeran feel, and the aspect where they're written so honestly and introspectively, while telling a raw and vulnerable story about the girl that you love so much, and Shawn captured that feel perfectly, to the point where it feels like Ed Sheeran had co-written this song with him, but it doesn't feel like he completely stole Ed's ideas, and I love that. As far as the production goes, especially in the chorus, you cannot sit there and tell me that the chorus doesn't sound like Five Sauce's song Thin White Lies off of their album Con. It almost has that exact same vibe and melody, but I was completely fine with hearing it again, because it still felt like I was listening to a completely different song, and Shawn made the melody his own. The lyrics are beautiful and introspective, the production is absolutely astounding, and I freaking love this song, which is why it's my favorite song off the album. The title track, Wonder, is another song that I really have to talk about because it is seriously the perfect intro track to an album. The lyrics give so much insight as to what sort of topics we might hear on the rest of this album, which is why it works as a smooth preparation just as well as it does a song. On this song, Shawn hints towards topics such as depression, heartbreak, toxic masculinity, which is something that isn't talked about much in music, unfortunately, and he talks about all of them so quickly and smoothly without making the song feel rushed or forced, and it's honestly so impressive as to how he did it so smoothly and how honest and firm he is with the listeners without being too overbearing. And much like the other tracks on this album, or most of them at least, the production is by far the highlight of the song. It starts out slow and steady and gives great anticipation to what's going to happen next, and then in the chorus, we're greeted with a loud, dramatic symphony of a climax that punches you right in the face without it hurting too bad, and it definitely threw me in for a huge surprise. It made the song feel much more like an anthem, and if any song off this album deserves a spot on the radio, it is absolutely this one. Not only will it be a huge change from the bland and boring pop we usually hear on the radio, it'll also leave much more of an impact on daily radio listeners than most of the songs we're hearing on the radio. I'm talking about you, WAP. However, speaking of bland and boring pop, I also unfortunately have to talk about most of the stinkers that reside in this album's track list, and there are quite a few of them. Like I was saying before, this album does have some songs that are very beautifully written, but the lyrics on another vast majority of these songs either feel very predictable, cliche, or just downright creepy at times. In fact, I don't know why Shawn put these songs on the album, because not only are the lyrics bad, but the vibe of these songs just don't fit in well with the album at all, especially the track Teach Me How to Love, which is the worst song on this album by far. The instrumental was promising enough. It brought us a nice blend of 80s funk with some slight undertones of modern pop thrown into the mix, and even though I said it doesn't fit with the vibe of this album, and even though I feel like it should have been saved for at least a B-side, it's cool enough. It's something new, and it definitely brings me some Red Hot Chili Peppers or the 1975 vibes. Yes, both of them, don't crucify me. However, the lyrics on this mediocre funk fest are painfully derivative of some of the new songs by Maroon 5, which are overtly sexual to the point where it just feels very creepy and not very romantic at all, and it also feels borderline predatory at times. I was getting some Sugar mixed with Shape of You vibes to create the ultimate sex fest, and even though the song may not be as much about sex as it is foreplay or aggressively making out, Shawn did a pretty bad job at making that clear. And no, I'm not sensitive to songs about sex. I love 5 Seconds of Summer and One Direction, but the song just feels really gross, like a 7th grade love letter. Monster featuring Justin Bieber feels way too much like a Justin Bieber solo song. Yes, I mean Changes era Justin Bieber, which is why it's a bad song. And I feel like the song would have been miles better if Justin Bieber's pseudo-rap verse hadn't ruined it. I won't deny that the song takes a very inspiring and honest approach to wanting to better yourself and improve upon your past mistakes, and it does that very well, but the amalgamation of blues and pop and I guess, rap, just feels really confusing and out of place to me. Like I said, mainly thanks to Justin Bieber. I'm not going to be too hard on the guy and say that he sounds bad, because he doesn't sound that bad, but I feel like he should have just at least sung or been saved for a different track, because his rap verse on this track just doesn't fit the vibe or style of the song, like, at all. That's kind of my main gripe with the song, besides how the song feels like it's desperately trying to get a place on the radio, along with Teach Me How to Love and even Song for No One, which unfortunately brings back the lyrical cliches of most somber pop songs, like wishing you were drunk or high, or regretting things you said and wishing you could take them back, or how this person doesn't love you back. And it just disappoints me how disappointing and anticlimactic both the lyrics and the instrumental are as a whole. In fact, the song's slow acoustic guitar and produced pop drums make it feel like it's actually trying to be an Ed Sheeran song, which isn't, like, a bad thing, I guess. But yeah, it's trying too hard to be an Ed Sheeran song, which makes it just feel predictable and boring. And no, I don't hate Ed Sheeran. I love Ed Sheeran, by the way. I love a lot of his songs, but yeah, it feels too forced, and it feels like he's trying too hard to be Ed Sheeran with this song. There are a few other songs on this album that I didn't really like, which I won't talk about right now, since I just wanted to say an equal number of good and bad things about this album, which I try to do for most of my reviews, and I feel like I did just that. To sum this up, I definitely don't hate this album. In fact, I feel like it's one of the better pop records of today's generation, but a lot of the lyrical tropes we hear in regular pop music on this album unfortunately prevent it from being great and mind-blowing, which it definitely could have been, thanks to some amazing production from both Shawn and his team, and Shawn's just beautiful vocals. Like, you cannot deny that Shawn is one of the best singers in today's modern pop scene. I'm giving Shawn Mendes' fourth studio album, Wonder, a light 6 out of 10, and I'm gonna hope that his next record is a lyrical improvement, because I know he can do it. He's proven it before. Thank you so much for watching my review of Shawn Mendes' fourth studio album, Wonder. I really hope you enjoyed this review. Let me know what you thought of the album down in the comments section below. Did you like it? Did you hate it? I'm not going to finish that sentence. Yeah, let me know what you thought of the review. Let me know what you thought of this album. Drop a like on this review if you liked it. And until the next review, my name is Zero, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.